the Fit and Healthy Athlete Podcast.
Debbie Potts is here to help you burn fat, optimize health, and enhance your performance in life as you age. We'll explore metabolic health, holistic health, and actionable insights with guest experts and deep dives into health topics. Whether you're an athlete or just looking to thrive, let's discover how to become your best self. Let's get started.
Hey, it's Debbie Potts, and I'm doing another podcast on why you might feel and struggle with low thyroid even when your labs say you're fine. How about some other reasons what is actually going on under the hood? So welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Coach Debbie Potts, and today I had to dive into a topic I've gone into before that so many people ask about. My labs are normal, but I feel that I have low thyroid. My doctor says everything is fine, but I'm exhausted. Or my TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, is in range, but I still cannot lose weight. Or how about I feel inflamed, puffy, struggling with brain fog. I'm always cold. You have constipation, or you just feel stuck. If this sounds familiar, this episode is going to change everything for you, or at least give you some ahas, because here's the truth. Thyroid dysfunction is not always a thyroid problem. It's a system problem. It's a communication problem, a root cause problem. And traditional medicine is focusing, I find, the wrong thing. So hopefully today you can walk away with an understanding why your thyroid symptoms happen, what you can do about it, and how we can rebuild your metabolism using my Future You blueprint framework. So let's dive in. First, I want to talk about just some education. Your thyroid. It's a metabolic thermostat and really orchestra conductor. As you know, thyroid is a small butterfly-shaped gland sitting over your Adam's apple, but don't let the size fool you. This tiny gland is the conductor for your entire metabolic orchestra. T3 is the active form of thyroid hormone and cues the movement of energy production, body temperature, fat burning, digestion, intestinal motility, nutrient absorption, hormone metabolism, brain function, liver detox pathways, bone metabolism, aging. Imagine your body is a symphony and the conductor loses the baton and every instrument drifts off beat. That is what thyroid dysfunction looks like. But this also sounds a lot of what else? The connection of the vagus nerve. So how do we put this together and look at what is going on with the body when we're trying to restore metabolic harmony and resolve metabolic chaos? So how is the thyroid connected to the vagus nerve? Is there a connection? The hidden conductor behind the conductor, because when we're talking metabolic harmony, and we're speaking of the thyroid and how the thyroid gland is a conductor of our metabolic orchestra, but what's the role of the vagus nerve? Because we also say the vagus nerve is involved in everything. So let's connect. If the thyroid is the conductor of a metabolic symphony, the vagus nerve is the sound engineer in the control booth. So the conductor can wave that baton all day long, but if the microphones, the soundboard, the acoustics are out of tune, the orchestra still sounds terrible. The signals don't land. The timing is off, and the audience, your cells, do not receive the message. And this is what exactly is happening with your hormones, endocrine system. The vagus nerve actually determines whether your thyroid signals are delivered or disrupted. Most people think thyroid health is only about hormones. It's actually a communication system. The vagus nerve is the main line that connects the brain to the gut. We've gone over so many times. The gut to the brain, the gut to the immune system to the thyroid to digestion, and digestion to your metabolism. It's the superhighway that keeps metabolism synchronized. But here is what almost nobody is taught. When the vagus nerve is not functioning optimally, we call it low vagal tone, the thyroid function is always going to suffer. So I wanted to break this down and dive a little bit deeper into this thought. How is the vagus nerve directly impacting our thyroid health? Number one, the vagus nerve controls stomach acid. This is the first step in thyroid health you might not know about. So interesting. If stomach acid is low, we call this hypochlorhydria. You can't liberate minerals as zinc, iron, and selenium. You cannot break down protein to get the amino acid tyrosine, so we're low in tyrosine, big ingredient of making thyroid hormones. You cannot kill pathogens, so we have more SIBO, Candida, and H. pylori. The TPO enzyme becomes impaired. You absorb fewer nutrients required for conversion. Low vagal tone gives you low stomach acid. Low stomach acid leads to low thyroid hormone production. It's a loop. The vagus nerve controls bile flow and pancreatic enzymes. Thyroid conversion requires bile, fat digestion, and liver detox to be working at optimal levels. But bile release is vagus nerve mediated. Low vagal tone, sluggish gallbladder, poor bile, poor detoxification, result, sluggish thyroid. So many people in middle age, especially women, struggle with thyroid symptoms. But we also usually have patterns that we see. Constipation, bloating, GERD, food intolerances, fatigue after meals. This is not digestion, it's metabolic signaling. And the vagus nerve controls intestinal motility. The migrating motor complex, this is your gut's cleaning wave. It's turned on by vagus nerve activity. And when we have low vagal tone, we have low or slower motility. You have increased risk for developing SIBO, small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. Toxins recycling, so we have more toxins recycling, circulating in our body. Lipopolysaccharide increases. Your reverse T3 marker increases, and thyroid conversion shuts down. If we have slow motility, we're going to have slow metabolism. Because if low vagal tone is an issue for you, we've got all these other problems involved. And the vagus nerve controls the immune system, and 70% of our immune system is in our gut. Did you know Hashimoto's, Graves', and thyroid antibodies all involve immune system putting it on alert? The vagus nerve literally acts as your immune system's dimmer switch. If we have high vagal tone, we have good anti-inflammatory systems turned on. The dimmer switch is turned up. If we have low vagal tone, we have inflammation out of control. An autoimmune system is increasingly a problem. The vagus nerve determines whether you run on metabolic gas or you have metabolic brakes put on. Because when the vagal tone is low, the body defaults into sympathetic dominance, HPA axis activation, cortisol elevation problems, as well as reverse T3 production, the brakes, and thyroid resistance. This is why vagus nerve therapy, breathing, humming, cold exposure, sunlight, devices as my Pulsetto, often improve thyroid symptoms even if we are not touching the hormones, because we need to fix the communication highway. I've been on thyroid T3 medication for the past year, more than a year, and it barely increased my T3. We need to understand the why. The thyroid, the vagus nerve, the gut triad, the triangle that no doctor has ever explained, at least to me. Think of this as a three-way handshake. The thyroid and the gut and the vagus nerve all must be functioning for healthy metabolism. When your vagal tone drops down, the stomach acid level drops. We have less enzyme output, bile flow flows, motility slows, LPS rises, inflammation rises, and reverse T3 increases. And then our conversion from free T4 to free T3, the active form of thyroid, drops. And our immune tolerance drops, leading to higher risk for Hashimoto autoimmune disease. Then suddenly you have all these symptoms. You don't know why you're cold, feeling puffy. Your eyes and face are puffy. And you just feel sluggish, bloated, brain fog, low mood, exhausted, inflamed, unmotivated. Because your thyroid gland is not broken, it's because your communication network is jammed. And this is so important to look at in midlife, because as estrogen levels drop, for us females, perimenopause, postmenopause, the vagal tone decreases and our gut motility will slow, our stress sensitivity increases, lipopolysaccharides increase, autoimmunity risk increases, insulin resistance rises, and cortisol dysregulation increases. Which means even though your thyroid was stable at 35, it will not likely be stable at 45, 50, 55 years old without upgrading your inputs. We need more nervous system regulation, more gut support, more focus on quality protein from animal sources, caring for our mitochondria, getting recovery from our workouts, getting minerals in our body, focusing on strength training over chronic cardio, getting up and prioritizing morning sunlight, and just building more resiliency. So this is what I talk about individually with clients, creating this future you blueprint. You can't out-supplement your way out of a dysregulated vagus nerve, an inflamed gut, or even a stressed out HPA axis system. But we can rebuild them. And this is what I'm doing in my protocols with clients individually. And I think we need to look at what else is going and what's going on internally and work on the order of operations, as taking all the different hormone supplements may help you a little bit, but may not see a big enough shift unless you're looking at the whole picture. So understanding the thyroid hormone doesn't work alone. It's part of this HP axis. Hypothalamus sends a signal to the pituitary gland and then to the thyroid. But also, if you learned about HPA axis dysfunction, adrenal exhaustion, we used to call it when I first started struggling in 2013, the hypothalamus sends a signal to the pituitary gland to the adrenals. But then we also have the gonads or the ovaries. So we need to look at how the body works together. So the hypothalamus, if it senses danger, stress, calorie intake, metabolic needs, it sends TRH. Then the pituitary hears a message and sends TSH. Pituitary sends TSH, which is the marker most doctors only measure in your blood chemistry to measure thyroid function. The thyroid produces T4, the inactive form, and a little bit of T3, the active form. But understand, to build these hormones, we need these ingredients we talked about. Tyrosine, which is an amino acid. We need iodine. We need a functional TPO enzyme, thyroid peroxidase. And we need key minerals, selenium, zinc, and iron. Low inflammation and low oxidative stress. And this is where TPO antibodies, as Hashimoto's autoimmune issue, wreak havoc. They attack the enzyme that is needed to make the hormone. But even making thyroid hormone is not enough because conversion is an issue. This is where thyroid problems actually happen, and this is the problem I have. Traditional doctors just typically test TSH, maybe the T4, and then they stop. That's like checking if you own a car, not whether the car runs. And what matters is your free T3 levels, but also how well do you convert T4 to the available free T3. How much reverse T3 do you make? And are your cells listening? And did you know that conversion of T4 to T3, 60% happens in your liver, 20% in your gut, 20% in peripheral tissues? So inactive thyroid T4 is kind of uncooked rice. You can have a pantry full of it, but unless that rice is cooked, your cells can't use it. Unless T4 is converted to T3, your cells cannot use it. When your doctor says your levels are normal, but you feel horrible, you're unusable, or think of it as your usable high thyroid hormone is low. Even if your total levels look okay, we need to look at the free T3 and is the conversion happened. Now, symptoms come from low T3 inside the cell, not from TSH. So you might see different patterns. We could have a normal thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH, a normal T4, low free T3. You could see a high reverse T3 and blocked receptors, inflammation, and high cortisol. And there still may be some low thyroid at cellular level. Type 2 hypothyroidism or cellular hypothyroidism is the type most women have, especially during periods of chronic stress, middle age, perimenopause, gut dysfunction, and actually mold exposure, burnout, chronic dieting, and overtraining. So we need to look at all the patterns and see, again, normal TSH, normal T4, but we have a low free T3 and a high reverse T3. Plus you have inflammation and high cortisol. We need to understand stress and the HPA axis system puts the thyroid on hold. Think of the car analogy. The thyroid hormone is often referred to as the gas pedal. Your cortisol is often thought of the brake pedal. When cortisol is chronically elevated, your body slams on the brakes. So your TSH levels drop, T4 production will slow down, T4 to T3 conversion slows, reverse T3 increases, cell receptors become resistant, digestion is slowing down, your liver detox slows down, blood sugar becomes unstable, and inflammation rises. Your brain's saying, hey, energetically, we are not safe. Let's slow everything down. This is survival mode. You can be eating clean, working out, taking supplements, but if your nervous system is running in the danger program, your thyroid cannot operate normally. And this is a huge part of what I'm talking about with my clients in the Future You program. We need to look at what else is going on and look at your other markers. Understand how is this cell danger response maybe part of the issue with thyroid health, and how we need to look at all the pieces of your puzzle and put it together and connect the dots, see patterns, correlations, and understand just treating it, the hormones might not help. We might not look at everything together and how to restore metabolic harmony. Because when your body is feeling under stress, it feels in danger mode, we need to understand your thyroid doesn't operate alone. It responds to the energy state in the entire body. So one of my favorite concepts from Dr. Robert Naveau is this cell danger response theory, a brilliant model explaining why chronic symptoms persist even when the trigger is long gone. So think of this as your cells are not passive. They're constantly scanning for safety and threat. But when our cells detect danger, whether it's physical, chemical, immune, emotional, metabolic, they're shifting into a different operating system. So as I say, if your iPhone goes into low battery mode, low power mode, when the battery dips, similar to your cells go into protection mode when everything is feeling overwhelmed. And once they enter that mode, everything changes, including your thyroid. So cell danger response is the built-in survival program. It's shifting your physiology from growth to protection, repair to defense, and your metabolism to conservation. So when your cells sense danger, the message is telling your body, slow down energy output. We need to store fuel and reduce your mitochondrial workload. Your thyroid gets the message loud and clear, but what happens is that the brain lowers TSH. Your hypothalamus is downshifting metabolism to conserve energy. The thyroid reduces T4 output because higher metabolism doesn't mix with danger. The liver actually stops converting T4 to T3. Your active T3 is a high energy hormone. Your body's saying, nope, too risky right now. And your reverse T3 increases because reverse T3 is your metabolic brake pad. It's blocking T3 from entering the cells and slowing metabolism on purpose. Your cells become resistant to the thyroid hormone. Even if your T3 is in your blood, your cells are ignoring it. And digestion shuts down. Your vagus nerve tone drops. Motility slows, stomach acid drops, bile thickens, gut microbes shift toward inflammatory species. LPS increases, fueling the danger program even more. And insulin sensitivity decreases because burning glucose requires much energy. Inflammation rises, and as part of the defense phase, we can see all this increase and we feel exhausted. You might struggle with constipation, puffy, foggy, heavy, cold, anxious, unmotivated, broken, even though you are not. Your body is protecting you. And this is why it's interesting to look at the HPA axis, cell danger response, and how they are actually the master switches of the thyroid function. Cell danger response is acting as a fire alarm. The HPA axis system is a sprinkler system. Both are designed to save your life, but if they get stuck on chronic stress, chronic danger, they start causing damage. So chronic stress leads to chronic HPA axis activation, leads to chronic cell danger response. This is what I learned about from my own journey 10, 12 years ago. I had what I thought adrenal exhaustion, 2013, and started to dive into this mitochondria connection. Now I'm connected with the vagus nerve and the thyroid. It's all connected. Because when we have chronic cell danger response, we have higher cortisol, the lower vagal tone, impaired digestion, poor detox, mitochondria are suppressed, thyroid's downregulated, inflammation increases, and we have lower metabolism. And this is why you can have perfect labs with your doctor. You can take all the medication, hormone supplements, follow a clean diet, still work out every day, but you still have low thyroid issues because the danger program overrides the metabolic program. And your body, your biology prioritizes survival over thriving. So this is a missing link in traditional medicine, and I think a lot of practitioners don't address. You cannot fix thyroid problems without resolving cell danger response and the HPA axis and the vagus nerve. And looking at how we need to connect all this together and how important vagus nerve and feeling safe is to resolving your hormone and metabolic chaos. Because it's a domino effect. All these issues are going to happen, but just taking thyroid med isn't going to solve it all. You might feel a little better, but it's still not bringing you to your optimal you. So if you want to feel your best as you age, we need to stabilize the internal safety systems, that vagus nerve, your gut integrity, your mitochondria, inflammation, your detoxification, drainage, blood sugar balance, nervous system, but we don't work on all of that at once. You cannot medicate a body into safety. You have to coach it back into safety, and you have to give your cells permission to come out of protection mode. So we don't just treat the thyroid, we need to stabilize the terrain. We retrain the nervous system. We restore gut integrity. We open up detox pathways. We want to support mitochondrial energy and rebuild stress tolerance. Only then does the thyroid respond, because now the body finally believes, hey, we are finally safe. We can turn the metabolism back on. And I really feel that we need to connect the thyroid, the adrenals, the gut, the liver, and all this with the vagus nerve to connect metabolic health and understand that thyroid is the conductor of the metabolic orchestra, but not forget that behind the scenes is this vagus nerve. The sound engineer, the communication cable, the amplifier, the Wi-Fi signal, and sending those instructions from your brain to your gut, to your liver, immune system, and back again. When the vagal tone is strong, the whole orchestra will play in harmony. Remember, when the vagal tone is weak, the messages are getting distorted, delayed, or even completely lost. And this is why thyroid function often begins long before the blood work changes. So if we can imagine trying to conduct an orchestra while the speakers are crackling, the wiring is loose, and the microphones are all messed up, it doesn't matter how talented the conductor is, the audience still hears distortion. And this is what's happening inside your body when that vagus nerve is weak, when you are chronically stressed, when your gut's inflamed, when you're stuck in fight or flight mode and cell danger response. Your microbiome will be disrupted, low stomach acid, sluggish bile flow. You're not digesting and absorbing nutrients. So the thyroid may try to send these signals out, but the system's not receiving them. And so we need to look at how the body works to create that metabolic harmony and see that vagus nerve, how it controls stomach acid. Remember, the first step in thyroid hormone production. So just to review, TPO, iodine binding, tyrosine availability, mineral absorption, all require strong stomach acid. So if you're on PPI medication and or Pepsid AC on top of that, it's going to interfere with getting the nutrients you need to create thyroid hormones. So we need strong stomach acid, vagal activation before your meals, parasympathetic dominance. Remember, low vagal tone is giving you low stomach acid. Low stomach acid means low thyroid hormone production. Also, remember, the vagus nerve controls the bile flow we've talked about and the pancreatic enzymes. These are required for T4 inactive thyroid to convert to T3 active form. Your liver converts 60% of T4 into active T3, but bile flow is vagus nerve dependent. Low vagal tone leads to sluggish bile. Sluggish bile leads to poor liver detox and poor conversion. So this is what I said before. Taking those thyroid meds and you still feel awful because the machinery to convert is offline. So the vagus nerve controls gut motility, the thyroid's silent partner, because remember, slow motility leads to SIBO, constipation, fermentation, gas and bloating, increase in those lipopolysaccharides, leaky gut, even more systemic inflammation, higher reverse T3 and lower active T3. A sluggish gut is sluggish metabolism. And keep in mind that the vagus nerve controls 70% of your immune system, which is a huge factor in Hashimoto's. A weak vagus nerve is connected to increase in inflammation, more immune reactivity, less tolerance, higher autoimmune risk. And this is why the vagus nerve therapy can often calm Hashimoto's before thyroid medication does. So I look at Pulsetto and my red light device as Kineon is a smaller device, or Flex Beam's a big panel that you can lay over your thyroid and your gut and help the vagus nerve, help your stomach, organ, your small intestine, large intestine, and your thyroid, so you can place it in different locations. The vagus nerve determines whether you're in metabolic mode or survival mode. So remember, if your vagal tone is low, your HPA axis becomes the default control system. Stress, increased cortisol, at reverse T3 will be increased, and we have more thyroid resistance. If vagal tone is low, your HPA axis becomes the default control system. You cannot heal your thyroid from a stressed out nervous system. Biology is not negotiable. Remember, if the brain perceives danger, your thyroid will slow down. If the brain perceives safety, your metabolism will be restored. So why vagal tone drops in middle age, and why do we see more thyroid symptoms spike? For women, middle age, we might see the estrogen levels dropping as the vagal tone changes. Gut motility, bile flow, serotonin, mitochondria, stress resiliency. Why midlife women experience more fatigue, more constipation, bloating, unexplained weight gain, more brain fog, cold intolerance, anxiety, inflammation, more thyroid labels. Your thyroid is not failing, it's a communication system that's changing. So don't blame the aging process. Don't use that as an excuse. I'm going through menopause. Let's embrace it and see what's actually going on and create your future you blueprint, because we need to stop chasing TSH, not just add medication, not just push supplements. We need to rebuild the system, the vagus nerve, digestion, gut, liver, mitochondria, thyroid, and metabolism. Thyroid is a conductor, but without vagus nerve delivering the message, metabolism never gets a signal. So I will end there for today, but I want you to understand how to connect everything together. So we will continue on the thyroid connection later on. Stay tuned for part 2.
Thanks for listening to the Fit and Healthy Athlete Podcast.
Coach Debbie Potts draws from decades of experience. Ready to optimize your health? Visit www.debbiepotts.net for a discovery call. Find her on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at Coach Debbie Potts. To support the show, like, rate, and review. See you next time.